In October 1871, the city of Chicago was alive, a booming symbol of America's ambition. Streets were filled with the sounds of horse-drawn carriages, the whistle of steam trains, and the chatter of merchants shouting their daily deals. It was a city of energy, of promise, but also of risk. Most of Chicago was built from wood. The houses, the sidewalks, even the streets. A spark was all it would take to turn dreams into ashes. No one could have imagined how that spark would change not just a city, but an entire nation. It began on the night of October 8, 1871, in a small wooden barn on DeKoven Street. The owners, Patrick and Catherine O'Leary, were ordinary immigrants from Ireland trying to build a better life. Legend says a cow kicked over a lantern, setting the hay ablaze. But whether it was a cow, a thief, or fate itself, no one truly knows. What we do know is that by 9 p.m., the barn was an inferno. The wind that night was merciless, strong, dry, and hot. It carried burning embers high into the sky, raining fire down on rooftops blocks away. Within an hour, entire streets were engulfed. People ran for their lives through walls of flame, clutching their children, their pets, whatever they could carry. The fire moved faster than anyone could outrun. Wooden homes exploded into sparks. Churches, schools, and factories crumbled under the heat. And the fire department, exhausted from fighting smaller blazes the day before, couldn't keep up. Water pressure failed, hoses melted, and even the firefighters' boots caught fire. By midnight, the city's heart, its downtown, was burning. The courthouse, the telegraph office, and the great city hall all fell to the flames. Reporters later said the sky glowed red from miles, like the gates of hell had opened over Chicago. Families fled toward Lake Michigan, the only escape from the roaring heat. People waded into the water, clutching floating debris, watching their city burn from the waves. By dawn, it seemed like the end of Chicago. For nearly 2 days, the fire devoured everything in its path. 3 square miles of destruction, over 17,000 buildings reduced to ashes. When the rain finally came on October 10th, it was too late. The city that once stood proud was gone. 300 people were dead. 100,000 were left homeless. But this is not just a story of loss, it's a story of rebirth. In the ashes of destruction, something extraordinary began to happen. Chicago did not fall into despair. Instead, the survivors came together with a determination the world had never seen. Only days after the fire, donations poured in from around the world. Food from New York, blankets from London, money from across Europe. The spirit of America was alive, stronger than ever. And amid the ruins, architects and engineers saw an opportunity to build a new kind of city. Brick by brick, Chicago rose again, not from wood, but from steel and stone. It became the birthplace of the modern skyscraper. Visionaries like Daniel Burnham and Louis Sullivan imagined buildings that reached for the clouds, and they made them real. Instead of fearing the future, Chicago embraced it. The skyline became a symbol of innovation, resilience, and human courage. The fire had destroyed a city, but it had also burned away its weaknesses. Before the fire, Chicago was crowded, chaotic, and poorly planned. After it, architects designed wide boulevards, fireproof buildings, and organized districts. Out of disaster came design. Out of ashes came order. In the years that followed, the Second City, as it came to be called, grew faster than any city in America. Railroads, Industries and immigrants flooded back, drawn by the promise of something new. By 1893, just 22 years after the fire, Chicago hosted the world's Columbian Exposition, a shining white city built on the very ground that once burned. It was a message to the world: you can destroy our buildings, but not our spirit. And that spirit didn't just rebuild Chicago, it helped shape modern America. The fire forced engineers to invent new technologies: steel framing, elevator systems, and better firefighting infrastructure. It gave birth to modern urban planning and safety codes still used today. The tragedy had become a teacher. Generations later, historians still debate what really started the Great Fire. Was it truly Mrs. O'Leary's cow? Or was it spontaneous combustion? Or a careless gambler? Or a nearby factory accident? The truth may never be known. But what matters more is what came after. In a single generation, Chicago went from a smoldering ruin to a city of glass towers, elevated trains, and electric lights. It became a living symbol of resilience, a reminder that sometimes destruction is the first step towards greatness. When you walk through downtown Chicago today, past the gleaming skyscrapers, the wide streets, the shimmering river, you're walking through the legacy of that fire. Every building stands as a silent tribute to those who refused to give up. And perhaps that's the real story. Not the flames, but the faith that followed them. Because America, like Chicago, has always been defined not by what it loses, but how it rebuilds. So the next time you see the city lights reflecting on the water, remember the night the sky turned red and the dawn that followed. From ashes rose steel, from fire came progress, and from tragedy, a nation learned how to rise again.